Hello, my name is Harry Dr. Evans. I'm a League of Legends caster and coach, and coach both individuals and teams. And something that has come up a lot in my coach of individual players, even in sort of gold elo and above, is that I see there's a lot of skills in jungle that are often skills that you're sort of just expected to know, and things that aren't ever really covered in full gameplay videos and things made by other streamers. And so I thought I'd just make a couple of videos here, quick series about the absolute basics of jungling, and again some of these, some of these things you may not have ever really heard about before that you should be doing to really give you an advantage in your solo queue games. So this first episode is just going to be about fighting your individual camps and how you engage in combat with those monsters. The name of the game here is going to be saving you health and time. And a lot of times I actually talk to my students and I say, get a couple of seconds here, a couple of hundred health there. And they say, what does it matter? Saving a couple of seconds on, on one clear, who cares? But what it's actually about is how those effects add up over the course of the clear. If you walk out with an extra 150 health during your clear, that means that you might well be able to then move on to another gank, or potentially you can go onto something like the Gromp or the Crab that you wouldn't have been able to clear before with a lower amount of health, but now you have enough health and it's an extra load of experience and 150 gold. If you're doing this and your opponent's not, that's 150 gold you're getting, 150 gold he's not, that's 300 gold swing, that's essentially a kill just getting absolutely for free. In terms of timing, if you can shave just 2 or 3 seconds off per camp, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's going to add up to 15 seconds or so across a 5 monster clear. And 15 seconds faster to the play, 15 seconds faster to a gank, it's a kill. If you get there 15 seconds faster to the Crab, it's an extra rotation that you can drop on the Crab before the opponent's even turned up. In the example we see here, we're going to be using Jarvan. And Jarvan is a champion who's entirely built around his EQ. It's his engage, his escape, his dash, it's his CC and his damage, right? And if you can get to the camp, to the Crab, 15 seconds earlier, you can safely EQ the Crab and kill it, and then have your EQ ready again to get out or to engage when the enemy jungler turns up. If you're not early, if you turn up at the same time as the enemy jungler, you probably just have to give him the Crab, probably have to walk away with your tail between your legs, probably end up getting double crabbed because you aren't able to fight back, because your CC to use on the Crab is also your CC to use on the champion, it's also your damage, your escape. So very, very valuable to be able to add up these effects and then start getting to plays just so much earlier than the enemy jungler. So when you clear your camps, make sure that you're efficient with how you choose to attack and how you choose to use your abilities, especially when they do damage in an area of effect. If a monster's very low health, you can just let it die to the burn without having to waste an auto or a precious cooldown on it. And when you do a camp like your Krugs, for example, if they're just going to die, it's going to go from a medium to small Krug, you can just hold your AoE for a few seconds. This can save you potentially 6 autos just by waiting a little bit of time to hold onto your AoE to make sure that it hits all of the small ones instead. Another way that you may see this happen is on certain champions, like for example Rammus. You want to use your AoE on the camp one time, like his Q, his power ball. You want to let that then tick down a little bit of the health of the chickens before later on activating your W, the defensive curl, to refresh that burn damage. If you do the Q and W too close together, you don't maximize the damage from the burn. You're left in a very awkward situation at the end trying to clear up all of the small chickens. But just a little bit of planning and fiddling around in the practice tool, and you'll find out how to clear on your champion significantly more efficiently. So how do we actually clear more efficiently? There's 3 main techniques I want to go over today. 2 of them are pretty basic, and then one's a little bit more advanced, and we'll save that one for the end. So for the first basic technique, I want you to go ahead and watch this clip and try to figure out what is wrong. Now this is a not so dramatic recreation of something I actually saw in one of my students' games, and he was a gold elo student, so again, it's just one of those things that it's never really mentioned to you. You might not even know that you're doing it wrong, and you're just sort of expected to know, that this is a problem. So rewind it if you need to, you can watch that back, but as we'll see, the student, he did have the right idea. He started off clearing the small chickens first, which is a good idea, that if you kill the small chickens first, you will take less damage overall from the chicken camp, because they all do the same amount of damage, so just kill the ones that die faster. It makes sense. But what we don't think about here is that Kayn is an AoE heavy champion, and so when he goes onto the camp, he starts off with a Q, which is fine, and then he puts 5 basic attacks onto those smaller chickens. and it doesn't sound like a problem, but then the second Q comes through and it kills off the remaining small chickens, and the issue is that they died without being autoed, so the 5 autos that he put on the other ones were completely unnecessary. You can kill those chickens from 100 to 0 with just 2 cane Qs. Those 5 autos could have gone onto the large chicken instead, and as we'll see when you run the clips side by side of a efficient clear versus this clear as cane, it's an 8-second difference just from how you chose to do the chicken camp. So, when you clear your camps, make sure that you're efficient with how you choose to attack and how you choose to use your abilities, especially when they do damage in an area of effect. If a monster's very low health, you can just let it die to the burn without having to waste an auto or a precious cooldown on it. And when you do a camp like your Krugs, for example, if they're just going to die, it's going to go from a medium to small Krug, you can just hold your AoE for a few seconds. This can save you potentially 6 autos just by waiting a little bit of time to hold onto your AoE to make sure that it hits all of the small ones instead. Another way that you may see this happen is on certain champions, like for example Rammus. You want to use your AoE on the camp one time, like his Q, his power ball. You want to let that then tick down a little bit of the health of the chickens before later on activating your W, the defensive curl, to refresh that burn damage. If you do the Q and W too close together, you don't maximize the damage from the burn. You're left in a very awkward situation at the end trying to clear up all of the small chickens. But just a little bit of planning and fiddling around in the practice tool, and you'll find out how to clear on your champion significantly more efficiently. If you look down in the description of this video, I've provided a link to an excellent spreadsheet which will help you with these individual clears. There are video examples for how to clear the jungle at least the most basic level, but usually there are actually some hidden gems in here from expert one tricks giving their insight. But yeah, just videos of how to clear on each champion, and usually there are multiple clears for a champion as well to give you a lot of options. So check out that spreadsheet down in the description below, and they help you get started on the right path. The manipulation of this jungle item burn isn't just for abilities though. In one of the more minor parts of this video, what we'll see here is on a Kha'Zix clear, for example. You can see that his attack is doing 61 damage per auto. Now, the burn won't actually kill red buff or blue buff. It'll kill everything else, but not those two, and it's to stop the jungler from accidentally stealing those buffs from a marksman or mage when he tries to hand the buff over later on into the game. And so, watch as this red buff goes down to 70 health, and then when I attack as the Kha'Zix, I'm going to take it down to 9 HP, the burn will tick it down to 1, and then I have to wait again for another attack. We compare this to a different Kha'Zix clear, where instead where you see it gets to 70 health, knowing that your next auto, like the rest of the ones before it, will do 61 damage, you simply wait, let the burn tick down first, and then you get the auto off, and you sped up your clear by about 1 auto. Again, it's not a lot, but these things really do add up together. Finally, the advanced trick is something that follows on a little bit from kiting, and what this is going to be is you want to try and do multiple camps at the same time where you can. Now, this is a lot easier for some champions than it is for others, and it is pretty hard. So when you look at someone like a Fiddlesticks, he can do red and chickens at the same time, or wolves and blue from level 1. Other champions like Zac, they're never really too worried about doing Gromp and blue at the same time. They can do it at any stage of the game. But for the rest of the champions in the game, this can be quite daunting. What's important to remember is that the damage in the jungle is fixed. Wolves don't crit anymore, Gromp doesn't have varying attack speed anymore. The ultimators are going to hit you for the same amount every time, and they're going to hit you at the same rate. So no matter how low you get, if you're anticipating this and you're ready and you're calm, then you'll never have to be too worried about actually accidentally dying to your camps, which can be a risk when you do a move like this. So what we'll see here in this clip of Jarvan is very simple, just going to pull the blue up towards the Gromp, and then as we're finishing off the blue, start up the Gromp and hit it with the EQ that in fact kills the blue. It just saves off a couple of seconds, and this comboed with the kiting of the red buff up towards the blue, and then of course dragging the blue over to the Gromp, it saved 6 to 8 seconds off the whole clear. That's 6 to 8 seconds faster on the gank. Again, that's almost an EQ, and you're going to be having a really good time when you compare to another jungler who's not being this efficient. Well, thank you so much for watching. That is the end of this first video looking at the basics of jungling. In the next episode, we'll be looking more at how to decide your first clear and what that's going to look like. And then the episode after that, we'll be looking at every clear thereafter. So what do you want to do sort of from the 4-minute mark, and how do you want to design your path around the shape of the game? So if those interest you, of course, don't forget to subscribe. And for the first time in my life, I'm unironically saying to like and comment as well, because apparently that's what you have to do when you make YouTube videos now. So yeah, and honestly, if anyone's got any questions, slap them in the comments. You can reach out to me through all of the mediums that you see in the description as well. Other than that, I hope this has been educational, and best of luck to you all in your Season 11 solo queue games.